From domestic violence to Me Too to now personal space, Andrea Shorter with the San Francisco Commission on the Status of Women. This is an evolving topic.
Yes.
You were one of the co-signers of the letter that called out Larry Baer and called for the suspension of the president of the Giants after he was caught on video having a push-shove situation with his wife in a public park. What prompted the letter?
Well, there are a number of us from the domestic violence community, the anti-bullying community, that were very much concerned. That was a very heartbreaking, painful, and shocking video displaying such a, physical altercation between Mr. Baer and his wife. And we've worked with the Giants over many years on their anti-violence initiatives. And so we wanted to make sure that in addressing the MLB through the Do
Major
What's
League
Right,
Baseball.
Major League Baseball, Do What's Right, MLB, that they took the leadership steps that were consistent with their own policies and the policies of the Giants in terms of how players would be responded to had they been in such a situation, how other members of the organization would be responded to had they been in a similar situation. But when it comes to the president and the CEO and part owner of the franchise, it wasn't as clear. So we set out to make sure that there were responsible, responsive, constructive, and fair consequences.
How big a deal was it that it was public? That this went out and was viral and something that was seen all around? In other words, is it the act or the publicity of the act in these situations?
Well, the act alone is certainly something that is very disconcerting. The publicity around it, I mean, certainly no one wants to see that as the brand of our Giants. Look,
but that also elevates the stakes, because if this had happened and somebody said they saw it or something and he was contrite, there would have probably been a different outcome. And we're seeing this all around the country.
That's possible, but we had to deal with what we were dealing with. And certainly, one of the concerns was that, annually, for instance, there's 25,000 kids that participate in the Junior Giants. They all take a pledge about bullying, stop bullying, name calling, all sorts of things that are disrespectful and are not productive in terms of conflict resolution.
Right.
And so to see the leader of the organization, who they revere, in that situation was certainly something of concern to us.
Now, Larry Baer, as a result of not as a result of your letter possibly, but subsequently he was suspended for 4 months. When he comes back to the Giants, he will not be in the same role he was before. Is that fair? Is that a fair resolve? In other words, he's not a batter that gets to go back and resume his life after this. His life is never going to be the same. These are very, very tricky situations that people can instantly find their lives changed on. Yeah,
it's a serious situation. There's no doubt about it. But as far as the fairness, again, we were glad to see that that MLB Commissioner Banford did, in fact, I think, take our recommendations into consideration. And as you can see, the prescribed consequences are very similar, if not derived from what we had proposed: the suspension, a financial penalty, and certainly that there is the intervention if there's counseling or some sort of treatment, amongst other things.
Well, we're going to see how it goes, and can you stick around, because we want to take up a more current topic, that of Joe Biden, from domestic violence to personal space. Andrea Shorter, San Francisco Commission on the Status of Women.